Sup guys, DJ here. This is the second to last video of 2022. The last video will come out next week on New Year's Eve, so stay tuned for that, but for now, let's talk Christmas specials. Now, what do I think of Christmas specials? Well, they're okay. When a cartoon makes a Christmas-themed episode, it can sometimes be overly sappy for me. And today, we'll be talking about the worst of these specials. Now let's begin. In general, Nature Cat is a pretty forgettable PBS kids show. I mean, if they make a new episode, I might watch it, but overall, I just found it very dull and boring. And A Nature Carol is no exception. Basically, the plot is just your typical Christmas Carol story. Nature Cat acts like a complete a-hole to his friends, and he gets visited by three spirits. You know the story. Even before I watched the episode, I predicted everything that was gonna happen without fail. Also, Nature Cat acts completely out of character for no reason other than to progress the plot. In other episodes, it's clear that he cares a lot about nature and would go through great lengths just to protect it. But in this episode, just because it's the holidays, he suddenly doesn't care about nature. This episode is early on the list because I liked all the songs. They were catchy, upbeat, and they were actually kind of emotional. But overall, with a forgettable plot, and an interesting characters, this makes it one of the worst Christmas specials. Let's move on. Jesus! What the heck even is this animation? This has to be one of the most terrifying animation I've ever seen in my life. Like, this makes Poppy's playtime seem like the Care Bears. But even without the horrifying animation, the movie is still pretty bad. The setting is lame, and the characters have nothing interesting about them. I know I say that a lot, but I review kid shows for God's sake. I first saw this movie when I was 8, and even back then I hated it. Not only because of the animation, but also because it was so incredibly boring. But honestly, the animation alone puts this on the list. Now let's move on so we don't have to see any more of this hideous abomination. Now if you couldn't already tell, all of these Christmas specials have pretty much the same problem. They're just extremely boring and forgettable. And this episode is the perfect example of that. This has to be one of the most boring waste of 30 minutes I've ever witnessed. I wanted to like it, but it was so boring, I fell asleep almost halfway through. Yeah, there's not that much to say about this. It's just an extremely boring mess and I don't recommend watching this. Now all of the movies on this list are mostly boring, but this movie is both boring and cringe-worthy. The person who played the Grinch didn't even try to do a good job. His acting was so cringy, it made the Nickelodeon sitcoms look like heartfelt performances. Also, the Who's are somewhere between horrifyingly ugly and impossible to look at without getting seizures, and their bizarre hairstyles and mismatching outfits attracted me away from the movie. The colors are too dark, and it's full of unnecessary changes and even inappropriate scenes for children. I do not recommend watching this movie. You'd be more entertained by staring at a dead body. Seriously, Hollywood, you made a movie based on that stupid 90s video game that nobody remembers. The fact that they roped Jill Talley and Tom Kenny into this confused me. It honestly stuns me to believe both actors were in SpongeBob and whatever the heck this movie is supposed to be. Everything about this movie is terrible. The animation, the plot, the characters, and especially the writing. Also, look at this.
First, there's Rebel, who's in charge of packaging. Yo, when the presents need wrapping, I'm the one make that happen. My feet start tapping, my hands keep a-clapping.
Really? Are they trying to offend black people? Overall, this movie is nothing but a 90-minute waste of time. I do not recommend this at all. Sorry if this video felt a bit short. I was just trying to get it done in time for Christmas. Anyways, that's it for this video. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. As always, see you next week.
Når helgen nærmer seg, spør alle hva jeg gjør da. Jeg hitter kløden som om hver dag var en lørdag. Så mange